What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. I hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. Today, I'm going to be giving you 5 potential breakout players for this upcoming Major League Baseball season. Now, I plan to do a few different parts on this video, so today we're only going to be focusing on players who are 25 years old or younger. Could be some potential breakouts for your upcoming fantasy baseball teams, or if you're just a fan of the MLB, some exciting players to watch for the upcoming year. But the first guy that we're going to be focusing on is Nate Pearson, the hard-throwing right-handed pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, being one of the most highly sought-out prospects in all of Major League Baseball for really the past couple years now, and actually just got ranked the #1 right-handed pitching prospect in all of Major League Baseball. He's a guy who, again, is a hard thrower, can hit triple digits, well into the triple digits, has a nasty slider, really good stuff, capable of striking out a high number of hitters. We did see him a bit in the Major League level last year, pitched in 5 games, started 4 of them, but he was really inconsistent when he did pitch. Really after his debut, battled a little bit of time in terms of injuries, struck out 8 guys per 9 innings, but walked 6.5, and because of that had a 6 ERA. But what we saw from Nate Pearson in the 2020 season was not what to expect from him this season and for future seasons to come. Nate Pearson is a fantastic pitcher. This year, you can expect him to be at number 2 in the Blue Jays rotation, probably right behind Ryu, and possibly, if he's pitching in a 3-game series against a given team, sandwiched right in between Ryu and Tanner Roark, guys who both don't throw hard, so Nate Pearson could be giving batters and teams different looks. I think the only thing that I would be a bit concerned about with Nate Pearson is that even in the minor leagues, and definitely not at the major league level, we have not seen Nate Pearson either stay healthy for a full season, but we haven't seen Nate Pearson be stretched out for a lot of innings over the course of a full season. So come the August, September, and even October months where the Blue Jays, I don't know if they're going to be adding another pitcher in free agency or through a trade, but I assume that if the Blue Jays really do make a playoff push, Nate Pearson is probably going to have a part of that in the rotation. So come August, September, October, are the Blue Jays going to be having him on an innings watch? It's something that definitely could happen. I think if you're drafting him for your fantasy team, he's a guy who could probably go right in the middle of the draft, depending on how many teams you have. But he will give you some quality innings the more he pitches for the first at least 4 months, I would say, of the season. So if you're looking to draft Nate Pearson, definitely could be some high value there, and I think definitely some high value in the rotation of the Toronto Blue Jays. Sticking in the American League East, going to the Baltimore Orioles, we have Ryan Mountcastle. Now, Ryan Mountcastle is one of the most exciting players, I think, in this Orioles organization. You have an Orioles team who, yes, they aren't in the greatest spot right now, but are gaining some traction in that farm system. Led by Adley Rutschman, their catcher that they drafted a few years ago. Ryan Mountcastle, one of the guys at the top of that system. We saw Mountcastle a bit last year at the Major League level. He played in 20 games, hit 5 home runs, batted .333. He was very, very exciting when he was in the MLB. Now, the Orioles lineup last year was actually pretty decent. You're looking at guys like Santander, Mancini, DJ Stewart, Cisco, had tremendous years last year, or at least in comparison to the expectations that they would have gone into the year with. I think, the lineup is very underrated. You put him in the middle of that lineup, he's projected to hit 6, and I think he could, hit 25 home runs right around that area and drive in more RBIs than I think a lot of people would have him expected for. Again, Ryan Mountcastle in the AL East, definitely make sure to keep an eye out for him. Next up, we have Adalberto Mondesi, one of my favorite players, actually probably my favorite player in all of Major League Baseball, and I actually projected him to be a breakout player last year. This is a guy who is the fastest player in the entire league. And if he can increase his OBP over the course of a full 162-game season, I genuinely think this is a guy who could get up to 60 stolen bases. If you're thinking about Mondesi in terms of your fantasy draft, this is a guy who, if you pick him, pretty much single-handedly wins you your stolen base category, as long as you get a few other guys here and there. He's a guy who stole 24 stolen bases in the shortened season in 2020, and with a 291 OBP in 2019, stole 43 bases. This is a guy who has never gotten his OBP really over 300, except for the exception of the 2018 season. But if Mondesi can figure it out, get some consistency, this is not only one of the best fantasy players in baseball, but potentially one of the best two-way players in all of baseball. And I think that the Royals, you could say what you will about their lineup and his ability to potentially drive in runs. But again, I think he's a decent defender for the Royals, a great addition to have on your fantasy team, whether his OBP is high or low. But I'm telling you, this is a guy that could potentially hit, 15 home runs, a guy who can hit for doubles and find the gaps, get you some doubles and triples if you're looking at it in terms of fantasy baseball. And again, I think a guy who genuinely could push towards 60 stolen bases if he can just get up that on-base percentage. Next up, we have Jo Adell. One of the top players in terms of prospect rankings for the past few years. We did see him at the major league level last year. Played in 38 games, had 124 at-bats, and was very underwhelming. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He had 3 home runs, batted a .161, had 55 strikeouts compared to 7 walks. But I'm telling you, this guy can hit for power. This guy's a pretty good fielder, and he's in a pretty decent lineup when you look at Ohtani, Rendon, and Mike Trout. He's going to have the ability to drive in runs. He's going to have the opportunity to drive in runs, and I think the more at-bats he gets at the plate, this is a guy, again, who could push 30 home runs and is in a great lineup to do it. We look at the young guys in terms of, prospects and the amount of experience that they need at the plate. But I think the job is a lot easier for Jo Adell than a guy that we would look at Vlad Guerrero, because he has that protection at the top of the lineup. You can pitch around a guy like Trout, a guy like Rendon, but the Angels lineup is becoming a little deeper. And I think Jo Adell is in a prime spot to really break out this year in comparison to a guy like Vlad Guerrero, who a few years ago we saw him coming up right with Biggio, right with Bichette. You didn't have to pitch to Guerrero. I think they have to pitch to Jo Adell, and that's why I could see him breaking out, with his home run power this year. And the final guy that we're going to be going over in this video is Dylan Carlson, a guy who's absolutely flown up the system of the St. Louis Cardinals, and I think is primed for a breakout year this year. This is a guy who is the #1 prospect in the Cardinals system. A guy who played 35 games last year, only hit 3 home runs, and only had a .200 batting average. But again, really similar to the situation of Jo Adell. He's a pretty good outfielder in terms of what he can do defensively. He can hit home runs. He was proven in the minors, and I think he's in a lineup that could potentially be getting better. The closer. This is a Cardinals team who I know is going to enter that trade market, and again, could be a better lineup come the actual start of the season of 2021. But when we look at Dylan Carlson, this is a guy, again, who's proven in the minors. He played 18 games in AAA last year, hit 5 home runs, batted .361. This is a guy who's going to have a much better OBP and a much better batting average than the .200 batting average and the .252 OBP that we saw last year. He's more than proven it in the minors. Trust me, I've been following Dylan Carlson for a very long time. He's flown up the Cardinal system, skyrocketed up the Cardinal system, actually, because of his ability to hit the gaps. He's a guy who gets on base. He's exactly what you want in terms of at least a fantasy breakout, but I think Cardinals fans should be really excited for what Dylan Carlson could potentially do this year. But anyways, guys, it's going to be all for today. If you guys did enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs. Again, I said I'm going to be doing more parts of these potential breakout players leading up to the 2021 MLB season. So again, if you like the content, definitely make sure to stick around. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.